And then as the camera settles, how old are you, Tom? And I said, I'm 29. He's okay. When I say action, I want you to be 29, 29, 29, 29, 29, war face, and as you feel the camera settle, I'd like you to de-age yourself by 20 years, so you're 9. Show me the boy. And I was like, I just thought that was the most extraordinary piece of direction I'd ever received, really. It was just so honest and intuitive and immediate and yeah, very, I'll never forget that. It was such an extraordinarily ambitious idea and kind of breathtaking in its daring and in its vision. The experience of making it was a long summer in 2011, what felt like an extraordinary relay race of people doing a lap of the track and then handing the baton on to the next actor who would do a lap of the track. And all of us wondering and hoping that our best efforts would coalesce into something that would feel fresh and exciting. I remember there were some very exciting days on set when everybody was together, and I thought, wow, look at these actors in these costumes. And they've got such different energies. The actors themselves had such different energies, which was so exciting to see in contrast. And to see Robert Downey at that time where he was with Tony Stark and Chris Evans where he was with Captain America, and they would face off, or to see Mark Ruffalo invent the Hulk in that particular way, and Scarlett was taking Natasha and Black Widow in a direction that maybe hadn't been explored before in Iron Man 2, and Chris Hemsworth too, like coming straight off the back of Thor and feeling really confident about, maybe both of us feeling more confident about who Thor and Loki were. And I remember that when it came out and seeing it for the first time and thinking, this is so fun. And the structure of it just seemed to work. It was that shot of the 6 of them when it tracks around them and the Hulk roars. And I remember watching it, I think, at a screening in New York, and the people just cheered spontaneously. And I remember thinking, phew, okay, it works. And then also cheering when I got Hulk smashed, which is very satisfying.
And I will not be bullied by that.
You tell.
I thought you might need some help.
How did you get here?
I walked.
You walked?
Yes.
Who's that?
Yes, I've seen worse.
Okay, you are crazy.
The Night Manager has come around. A brilliant novel by John le Carré about a former soldier who, with a complex internal world, who works as a night manager of a very expensive hotel. And there was something in the character presented this immaculate exterior, which seemed very difficult to determine what was going on behind it. I had this idea that it might be fun to go to a hotel and ask a real hotel manager what their experience was like. And they were very, very open to the idea. So I went to this hotel in London, and they said, would you like to just come and shadow the night manager for a night? So I turned up, and I was wearing a suit, and I realized the importance of how they're turned out. They are pristine, the way the uniform is pressed and prepared, and the tie is just so, and the tie pin, and the hair is just right. It's almost an act of the most effortless diplomacy. You have to, it's like theatre. There's a stage where the action is happening, and there's a backstage where there's a whole team of people who are making sure that the show, I suppose, is running well. I remember at night, people would come up to me behind the desk, and I would give them their keys and stuff, and I was absolutely not recognised. It was only in the morning at dawn, around sort of 7 o'clock, people starting to come down for breakfast, and they'd hand in their hotel keys and say, thank you so much, and it's been such a lovely stay, and do a kind of, anyway, it's been a very nice, thank you so much, thank you. It's been very nice to stay here. You look very familiar. Oh, I'm sure I do. Well, anyway, thanks. It was they were kind of double taking. And then a funny thing happened when we were filming The Night Manager in Marrakesh in Morocco. We were filming in a working hotel, and so there were real guests at the hotel with real lives, and we were a skeleton crew shooting on long lenses. And there was one shot towards the end of the evening at about 11 o'clock. I guess some real guests came back from having had a nice dinner, and they wanted to get their key, and they came up to they didn't see the cameras or the microphone or any of the lights, and they came into the lobby and said, yes, room 303, please. And I said, absolutely, sir. And there we are, and gave them their key, and they went up, and it was all in camera, and the crew were very tickled by it, because it was sort of life and art merging. But it was a very, very rewarding job, the night manager. Unforgettable too, for all sorts of reasons. Betrayal is, strangely enough, I remember reading it when I was a student at drama school. I sort of was in the library one evening looking for another play, and it popped out, and I wanted to read it because I thought it just seemed like such an interesting, it was a short play with an interesting title, and the construction of it is so brilliant. I loved doing it. I had a really meaningful experience doing it. I played Robert, and we did it in London for 12 weeks, I think, in the spring of 2019, and we got called up by the producers, and they said, would you like to take this to Broadway? And I'd never done theatre in New York, and to be invited to perform this very brilliant play on Broadway, right in the heart of the community on 45th Street at the Jacobs, was a huge honour. And just the sheer energy of Broadway, the sheer numbers of people who move through those streets and make connections in different ways is a very powerful idea, actually, and I can't wait for it to come back. Plead. Look, this has been a very enjoyable pantomime, but I'd like to go home now. Well, you know what's interesting about Loki is every time I've played him, it's almost like playing a chord on the piano, and then it goes out into the world and it echoes around the audience and the readers and the fans, and it kind of comes back, and it comes back with new tones in there, and maybe it's a few extra little grace notes. And so what Loki means to people continues to deepen and change. And that what I found so interesting about playing him is that my first encounter with him was as a younger brother in a family who felt misunderstood and betrayed and had lots of vulnerability and distress. And then every time I've been invited back, you think, well, I don't want to do the same thing I did last time. And so you'd start digging around more in the source material in the comics and the old stories. And there's just so much in there. I mean, he has so many different facets. And one of the things I think I've found most interesting about Loki, he's a shapeshifter. He is the quintessential trickster, a mercurial spirit who is flexible and fleet-footed, and you can't pin him down. You don't know whether you can trust him. You don't know what his motivations are. You don't know why he's doing what he's doing. He's committing acts of provocation and transgression and disruption. And across the films, actually, Thor is always asking him, what is it you want, Loki? Why? What do you really want? And I've always asked myself, I wonder what he does want, and I wonder if he even knows. And so the question for me now is, behind all the masks that he wears, is there an authentic self there that he is aware of? Does he even care to know? Is he interested? If he isn't, is there a situation that might confront him with it, and might that impel any kind of change? And that in itself, as a kind of human question, is, can we change? Are we capable of change? Do we know who we are, really? Do we think we know who we are? Do we care? All that stuff about identity and self-knowledge is when you're playing with a character as complex and rich as Loki is, that becomes a really interesting, dramatic question for an actor to play with. So I've enjoyed that enormously. That's a lot of stuff to comb through, and thank you for watching. That was the timeline of my career.